Hey guys, and welcome back to Everything DIY. We've recently been noticing that a certain device has been growing in popularity in the United States and has already been very popular in other parts of the world, different countries, and that's because it keeps the driver very well protected, and for these reasons we've decided to acquire one of our own. Of course, the device I'm talking about is a dash cam. What a dash cam does is record the road every time the car is on so that it can keep a record of any incidents that may occur, and while you might think this isn't a necessity, if you get into an accident that isn't your fault, you'll have the video evidence to support your insurance claim and make the whole messy process of having an accident a lot easier. With that being said, we love the idea of having a dash cam in our cars, so we're going to show you how we install ours. Before we get into the installation, I kind of wanted to talk about the dash cam that we did buy and sort of any requirements that we were looking for when selecting a dash cam. Our first requirement was that we wanted a dash cam that could record both the front and the back of the vehicle. As you can see, our dash cam has dual cameras recording at the same time. Secondly, we wanted reasonable video quality so that if we're ever involved in a crash, we'd have clear evidence showing details of the accident. This dash cam is able to record 1080p front-facing video with low light capabilities and 720p for the rear-facing camera. Thirdly, we wanted the camera to mount in an inconspicuous location so it wasn't obstructing our view while also staying kind of hidden from other drivers. As you can probably tell, this dash cam is a rear view mirror in itself that mounts over your existing mirror, so it's hard to tell that it's even there. Finally, we wanted some cool features like an LCD screen and file protection. This dash cam has a 5-inch LCD behind the mirror with picture-in-picture ability and reverse camera support. It also includes an internal G sensor that identifies accidents and will automatically save and lock files when one is detected. There's an internal battery that keeps the device from failing if car power is lost, alongside motion detection software that will start shooting photos if someone gets too close to your car while you're away, even just away from the car. This is obviously a pretty robust dash cam that'll protect you in all types of adverse situations, so now let's just get started with the install. The tools we're going to be using for this project are pliers, an assortment of screwdrivers. Optionally, if you want to hardwire this device into your car so you don't have to worry about wires hanging around everywhere, you need a crimping tool, a couple of wire splicers, voltmeter, and finally a female cigarette lighter socket. So first we're going to figure out exactly where we want to mount the dash cam, and then we're going to determine where to put the cables. Since this is a rear view mirror mounted dash cam, we're going to just put it right up on there with the included rubber mounts. Just like this. So we have two wires that go into this camera. We have the power wire, and then there's also the rear view camera wire. So for those of you that don't really care about hiding your wire, you can take the power and just plug it right into your cigarette lighter. But for those of you who want to hide them like we do, we're going to run the wires up along here and hardwire it all into the panels using this adapter that we got. So with that being said, I'm just going to plug these in and see where the wires end up so I know exactly where they should all be hidden. So we're going to run our power wire up through here, down along this panel, and into the fuse box here. Running it through the headliner is easy because there's already kind of a gap in here, but what you're going to want to do first to get through the panel is take off the weather stripping here. And now be careful with this because it has an airbag in there. Alright, now that I have this popped off, I'm going to slip the power wire behind the, oh, there it goes, behind the airbag so that there's no interference. And then I'm going to just thread it through. Alright, and I'm going to start feeding it above this panel here. Just work it in. Now I can start getting this wire hidden behind the panel on this side, all the way down through the back, going down, and then we're going to thread it in through here and splice into a wire so we can get some power here. Okay. Okay, and then I'm gonna start looking for a wire that only shows power when the car is on. Okay, so we found a wire with our voltmeter that is going to be able to supply us enough power. Be careful when you're selecting your wire. We're not gonna be able to show it to you because it's kind of far back, but ours is pretty ideal because we actually found the one that connects to the cigarette lighter. All right, right now I'm gonna show you how to splice a wire. The one we picked, it's just too far back to get a good angle on, so we can't really show you that one, but imagine this is your power wire. You're gonna take your splice, you're gonna stick the wire in through the open end here, okay? And then you're gonna take the wire that you want to have power, you're gonna stick it in through this end, and it'll stop on its own when it reaches. So now that your wires are situated, you're gonna wanna compress this little metal piece all the way down so that the new wire can get a current, and we're gonna do this using a vice grip just because it's easier. So just until this metal piece goes all the way down. Now that our power wire is set, we need to find a ground for this other side of the wire. So I'm gonna use this connection here, and we're gonna use that ground right there. To connect these two pieces, I'm gonna trim a little bit of this with our crimpers, just off the tip here. Okay, and then I'm gonna twist these wires just a little bit. Okay, connect into the end, just a little bit more. Okay, and then test it out. Just tug on it a little bit and make sure that it's not gonna come out. So I took that screw off and I'm gonna put it right through there and then get that right back on. To make sure our wires and socket are working right, I'm gonna plug it in. Turn the car on. The startup. Now that we verified everything's wired correctly, to get the excess wires out of the way, just kind of bundle them up like this neatly, and then we're gonna take it to the back in an empty space and zip tie it. Okay, so the power is ready to go. Put all the panels back on, weather stripping and everything. And now we're gonna move on to the rear camera. So a lot of times the rear view camera is mounted just above the license plate. However, this is a hatchback and it's kind of low. So what we're gonna do is bring it up here a bit, and I kind of like this spot here. Right there. Now I'm gonna grab that rear camera wire and plug it in. Okay. And then I'm gonna just start concealing the wire much in the same way that we did with the first one. I'm gonna feed this through the other end of it. So we fed the wire through this pillar, but since this wire is kind of around the airbag, just to be safe, I want to tape sections off just so that I know there's no way it could possibly interfere with the airbag. So I'm going to start feeding this just along the back like I had done in the front, and removed the weather stripping so I could do that. Also, I'm going to put the tape here as well just in case, and feed this guy through the back here, and we're going to loosen these panels here so that I can do that. Now that we've got the camera wire fed through to the back of the car, I want to get it outside of the car. So what I'm going to do to get it into the hatch door is take off the weather stripping here, just there, because I want to feed it in through this little black part here and out. So we decided to go put the wire through this cover instead because that one has a huge wire running through it itself. So to get this wire up into the headliner, you need to take off these 3 clips, which we did already, and they're right here. So just take those off first. All right, and then you're gonna wanna pull it down a little bit and feed this in through here. And then I know it's gonna take some time and patience, but just work this little end right up into this area here. That was a pain, to say the least, but managed to get it through there, and now I'm gonna push this little guy up through here and feed it in all the wires up through this one. And move on. So after inspecting this area a bit, I can tell that there is a hole leading to the outside of the car. However, we need to remove the spoiler to get to it and plug in our camera. So to remove the spoiler, you have 4 bolts that you need to take off. We have 2 here with the black caps, and we have 2 in here. Just be really careful when you're loosening these, because if you lose a bolt inside there, it's nearly impossible to fish it out. Now that the 4 bolts are out, we've got the weather stripping back on, and I'm just going to close the hatch. As you can see, it's pretty loose. So you're going to lift up really hard because this is held in by quite a few clips. So, okay, here we go. I gotta admit, I needed some help with that, so I stopped to get some assistance. Just make sure that you keep pushing up from each side and then pop off. It's just gonna take, you know, some muscle and a little bit of finesse to get it off. But eventually, there it is. Obviously, this is a good opportunity to clean that area if you want, go crazy. For now, I'm gonna grab my camera and feed that wire in through the center hole. Now that we've got that through there, you should see the wire dangling into the door. So if you want to, just go ahead and plug it in and make sure everything is working right, so that you don't go and seal everything up and have to take it all apart again. And do that now. Now that we verified everything is working properly, we have one final step. In case you hadn't noticed, we have these 2 auxiliary cords hanging from the rear view camera. And what these do is to activate the device until when the car is in reverse. Right now we're going to be working with the red wire. The black wire is for different systems, so we don't really need to worry about that right now. What the red wire needs is 12 volts to work when in reverse. And what we have here is our reverse light, which there's your 12 volts. So we're going to splice into this reverse light wire and get the power from there. So I'm looking at the reverse light right now, and I can see that these wires feed down into here and that they're color-coded white and red. So I'm going to look for the white and red wires down here. I already have my splice in place at this point. So I'm going to take the red wire and put it on the other side, and then push that little metal piece all the way down until we have a connection. We have our splice in place now, and so I'm going to verify that this is going to work when I turn the car on and put the car in reverse. Now that all the wiring's done and I verified that it's all working, I'm going to just leave this as is for now and close this up so that we can put the spoiler back on and mount the camera. Of course, make sure your camera is away and off to the side so you can grab your spoiler and start to put it all back on. Okay, those are tight. Put these guys back in. So this kit came with 2 screws to mount the camera, but we don't really want to be screwing into our brake lights, so we decided to use some 20-pound heavy-duty mounting tape. And we've used this in our engine before, so we know it's really reliable and that it's not going to go anywhere. So I'm going to just put that up there now. Now I can open the hatch and pull that wire in a bit more taut. Okay, now I'm going to start collecting the wires here and zip tie them again up and out of the way. All right, so that's not going anywhere. I'm just going to replace this cover here. Then I'm going to put these clips back up in here. All right, so I'm just going to close it up and then check all the panels and make sure everything is popped back into where it should be, and just check out our new dash cam. All right, so I'm going to get the car started. Starting up nice. Yep, can see the camera. I'm going to put it in reverse now. Yep, looks pretty good to me. Okay guys, If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more from us, subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to leave them below, and we'll see you in our next one. Bye!